Welcome to the Dominance Academy, where we specialize in revitalizing manhood and leadership. Our approach focuses on developing men to lead with strength and passion, enriching their lives and their families. We provide practical solutions and expert guidance in the realms of sexual education and the mysteries behind polarity and structured power dynamics. Join us at thedominanceacademy.com and restore harmony to your home while rediscovering the joy of a fulfilling masculine presence. It's time to step into your role as a leader and as a man. And now, the host of the show, Mr. Justin.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Dominance Academy, and I'm your host, Mr. Justin. And quick reminder that later this evening, I'll be doing a interview with a couple that is got a 24/7 domestic discipline relationship. So if you're interested in hearing about what it's like, the things that go on for a day basis with a couple like that, the details of the relationship, please certainly stop by and see what's going on with that. Should be pretty enlightening. What's going on, why they do the things that they do. So I hope everybody's having a good Tuesday afternoon. I know I am. It's like 70 some degrees here in New York. I was just looking at my earlier, got the clutch put in, doing fresh oil, and then I realized that I put in a liter of used oil. So now I got to drain it out and then get some new. Pain in the ass. But that's the way things go. The sound is low. Oh, thank you. Let me just check that really quick. That's why.
Hello, check. Is that better? Is the sound better? Let me know in the chat. Let me know if this sounds any better. Okay, good. Yeah, it was connected to my earbuds as the mic, unfortunately. But yeah, I was just saying so I'll repeat that for those who are interested, later on tonight, I believe it's at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'll be interviewing a couple that is in a 24/7 domestic discipline relationship. So if you're interested in checking that out, hearing about the details of a day-to-day within the, little sneak peek into the lifestyle of a 24/7 domestic discipline relationship, come check it out. It's just to give you like a basic idea. It's sort of like a 24/7 BDSM relationship, but it's like BDSM light, where the focus is more about structure, discipline, order, and things like that, rather than, kinky play and things of that nature. And I went on to say that I put in the wrong fucking oil in my bike. Old oil. So I got to deal with that. So, but today's topic, women are the problem. And of course, that's a triggering topic that I'm sure will just garner a lot of views based on the title alone. But that's really not what this is about. It was spurred on by a post. I'm not going to mention who it was because I'm not like that. But this guy, he's got a page about helping men, and I follow him because it's interesting. But he has this post, and it goes: women's desire to get dick down doesn't care about morality, which I just don't understand at all. And then he goes on to say in the description, he said, a young man's most important decision in life is to choose the woman he will marry. I wouldn't say the most important, but that's a pretty heavy choice. Like, it should be taken very seriously, the woman that you choose to marry. And then he goes on to say, she must be loyal, attractive, high value, traditional, and loving. In our modern times, such women are very rare. Okay. This is why, now this is where he fucks up. Said, this is why there are countless divorces and broken families. People spend years of time and tons of money in relationship or marriage, then it all falls apart. You must save yourself from making a wrong decision. And so, and he was using this to kind of plug, one of his products, which is fine. I respect the hustle. But the thing is, though, is that, he's basically saying that relationships that fall apart are because of women. Relationships fall apart, because women are not loyal. They fall apart because women are not traditional. They fall apart because they're not loving or attractive or high value. And you see, things don't exist in a bubble, right? So in order for something to become a something, there has to be a precursor to that something. So let's just say a woman that you come across is lacking loyalty, and she's not traditional, she's not loving, or any of these qualities that I mentioned. Where does that come from? All right, because people are just not born with these behaviors. We learn these behaviors. So where then did this, hypothetical woman learn these behaviors? And the only real solution, the real answer to this is her upbringing. So you have to look at her mother. And then if you're looking at her mother, you have to look at her father. Because how the woman behaves in a relationship, and we're talking ideally, how a woman behaves in a relationship, how a wife, mother, is dependent upon the man. It depends on how he runs that relationship, how he regulates the relationship. So if the daughter is learning things that are not conducive to relationships, then you have to look at the mother, and then you look at the father. And then he goes on to say that, this is the reason why, majority of things lead to divorce. Yeah, he said this is why there are countless divorces and broken families. So he's saying that divorces are the reason for women, and he's right on the surface. He's correct on the surface, because if you look at the stats, yes, 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Okay, but why would they leave something that is perceived as valuable? That's not going to happen. Women don't just ditch something that feels good. They want to keep the thing that helps them feel good, right? Namely because women have a large amount of insecurities. They have a large amount of internal mental chaos and emotional chaos. The world is stressful. Their daily lives may be stressful. If they're with someone that alleviates that internal chaos, that alleviates their insecurities, that alleviates the constant chatter that's going on in their mind, and it subsides, and they can think clearly and feel clearly, and they feel good about themselves. They like how they feel in the presence of said man. Why would they get rid of him? Why? They're not. People in general do not toss away things that are perceived as valuable. We just don't do it. It's part of how we're wired, right? We get rid of things that we perceive as not useful or not valuable, and we hold on to things that are perceived as valuable. That's just the way it works. So, and I know from my work, from my experience, I understand that most guys don't know what they're doing. Because if they did, then we wouldn't see such a high divorce rate, right? Because they would be able to lead well. They would be able to influence well, such that divorce is seen as a scary thing to go towards. That it would be like a woman would fear losing that influence. So of course she wouldn't go through that. But like I said, you guys, well, I'm sorry, I don't want to blame you guys. I don't know who you are and what your relationships look like. But I'm talking to you from my experience. Working with men for just about 10 years now. You don't know what you're doing. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna look at the situation and go, oh look, she left, she did this, she did that. But it's like, well, why did she leave? Why did she do these things? Okay. I'm working with with a guy right now, and he's going through a pretty difficult situation, and his wife lost respect for him. And there were some things going on between them, and he wasn't guiding her, he wasn't leading her. Frankly, he didn't know that he should. He didn't know how. So I'm giving him the benefit of that doubt. But the reality of the situation is that he wasn't leading and influencing the way he should have. And then she's going to react off of that because of his poor decisions. And his poor decisions led her to losing trust. All right? I say this all the time, you're always leading your woman. You're always leading her, whether you're conscious of it or you're operating from an unconscious level. Everything you do, everything you say, how you show up, how you believe in yourself, your habits, your choices you make, everything about you showing up in the world in the context of being in a relationship is going to lead her. And if you're making good choices, you're making influential choices that benefit the two of you, that benefit the sanctity and the growth of the relationship, then things will be great. If you don't know that you have this responsibility of influence, then things are likely to fall apart. It's not guaranteed, but it's likely to fall apart. It's so that's what we do at the Academy. Excuse me. That's what we do at the Academy. You have to learn how to do these things. You have to learn how to show up, which means you have to learn how to think. You think you know how to think, but you don't. Because that thinking comes from a false identity. It's an identity that you've acquired over time through your various environments as you were growing up. That's typically how guys work. That's typically what your identity is comprised of. Okay, like if you look at certain types of concrete or certain types of rocks, okay, like there's some rocks that are composed of just one mineral, okay, and then there's other rocks that they're called conglomerate rocks, and when you break them open, you see all different sorts of things together, and they're like little teeny pebbles and things of that nature, like all sorts of different things that are putting together to make this solid rock. Now, is it solid? Sure. Yes, it's solid. But and yes, you would consider it a rock, but but it's not one material. It's not a solid unified substance. It's a conglomerate of a bunch of different substances, different minerals, okay? And that's basically like what a lot of guys are, what most guys are. You're a combination of many, many different things, most of which you did not acquire on your own. You absorbed it through your environment over years. Other people's influence, telling you how to think, all right? And I guess that's fine when you're a child, right? Because you don't know anything from anything. But if you're a grown man, you should have your own thoughts. You should have your own ideas about things. You should know what your values are, what you believe in, what you stand on. And how often do you think guys take the time to sit down, unplug from everything around them with a notebook, and sort out what it is that they stand on, what they believe in, right? They don't. They know. They trick themselves into believing that they know it without actually sitting down to see if they know it. Like really taking that intentional time to break it down. And they're like, yeah, I got this. And then they go on to play Call of Duty, right? It's not how it works. Okay? You have to take this seriously. You really do. But, with respect to that, women really aren't the problem. They never have been, and they never will be, to men, anyways. You only think they are a problem because they're dealing with you. That's the issue. Like I said at the very beginning, women aren't going to discard value. Nobody discards value. And you say to yourself, if you were like dumped or something like that, you say to yourself, well, that's just her loss. I know my value. Well, there's only one value, and that's man, right? People say like, well, I'm this kind of man, I'm that kind of man. There's like these, alpha, sigma, gamma, beta, whatever. No, there's only two categories: men and not men. That's it. Just A and not A. Those are the only categories for us. Men and not men. So that's where the value is. So it's like if you're saying, oh well, she didn't see my value, she's messed up, screw her. Like all that there is really just to protect your ego. Right? We all have egos. It's necessary. It's part of, like, we need it. We can't separate it from being human, right? Our ego is the thing that we share with the world, and so that they can identify another person, say, okay, this is you, that's me, and so on and so forth. But what's hiding behind that? That's where that defense comes from. And you say to yourself, well, she's missing out, so you don't feel bad, okay? And you shouldn't feel bad. But what you should do is remove the emotional and look at it from a technical perspective, an analytical, okay? And not from a blame position. Just try to figure things out. It's just like the story that I told about when I was teaching illustration, and I'd show these guys, really famous works of art, and at first they would be like, oh wow, that's so cool, it's so beautiful, it's amazing. And then following right behind that, they would say, I'm just gonna put down my tools now because I'll never be that good. It's too good. I'll never be able to compete. So they would immediately be hit with despair by comparing themselves to master artists, okay? And I would have to encourage them to put their emotions aside, because it doesn't help, right? That's not part of learning. Your emotions have nothing to do with learning. And put on your engineer's hat and look at things technically and try to figure out how the master artist did what they did. What elements are in place to make you have that first initial reaction that said, wow, that's beautiful. Wow, I would love to be able to make that, okay? Look at things technically. And it's the same process when you're dealing with women. You need to look at things technically, not emotionally, and taking things personal or whatever. None of the shit that women do is because it's for a personal reason, okay? That's only if you've really, really fucked with a woman and she's now feeling vindictive. She's feeling vindictive because of some, extremely rude or disrespectful thing that you did, and now she wants to get back, all right? And there are women who are like that. A lot of women won't be of that mentality. They'll just kind of dismiss themselves from the situation and distance themselves, and that's it. And they'll just not want to give you any more of their time or attention. But yeah, there's some vindictive women out there. So, watch your back in those cases. But, the thing is that if things are not going in the direction that you would like them to go, you have to look at what you're doing. You have to analyze what you're doing from a very technical perspective, not from an emotional place, because you'll be led astray. And the thing is about the ego is that it loves to defend itself. Well, it has to defend itself. The fabric of our identity together is our ego. So if we pick it apart too much, then our sense of self starts falling apart. So if there's anything in there that questions it too much, then we're gonna be less inclined to look in those directions. So that's why it's important to understand that about the ego, that it's always going to want to defend itself from scrutiny. But in order to grow, you have to go into those spaces. You have to provide yourself with that same scrutiny. I mean, like my clients, they don't get a free pass. I show them everything about themselves. They present me something and they think they're seeing something a certain way, and I flip it so they can see it from a different direction, and they go, oh shit. And I go, there you are. This is you. What you thought was happening from your vantage point, because you have lenses on your eyes that you've acquired over time, it's making you see yourself in certain situations in a certain way. But I'm not wearing those lenses, so I can see things differently. I can see things more objectively. And then I show it to them and they go, fuck, this is me. And so, yeah, that is you. Look how you're screwing around. Like a client of mine, he didn't realize that in his text messaging that he was just chit-chatting. He thought that he actually thought he was getting to know them. He thought he was getting to know them better. And so I'd have to point out, why are you asking these questions? Why are you just talking about regular nonsense as if you actually care? Do you really care about this, that, and the other thing that she said? Is it a true concern of yours, a true interest of yours? Like if now that she's told you it's added value to your life? That's not how these things work. So don't ask questions about things that aren't going to add value to your life. That's why I say don't bother following women. Like, don't bother following women on social media. What value does that bring you? Besides some candy to your eyes, right? We all know that candy just provides rot. So why are you rotting yourself by filling your eyes with female candy? It doesn't add value. Just stop following them. There's nothing there for you. There's really nothing there for you. So yeah, if you got a question, please put it in the chat. But yeah, I saw that guy's post, and I'm just like, holy fuck! Like, how are these guys following this stuff? Why is it so easy to blame women for your shit? You know, it just doesn't. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. And then in the same breath, you say you want to be a leader. Make that make sense. Blaming women, but also wanting to be a leader. When you're a leader, the only one to blame ever is yourself. If your woman is moving in a weird way, that's your fault. If your woman is talking in a weird way, it's your fault. If she's developing habits that you don't like, that's your fault. I mean, I'm saying if this is your woman. You know, I'm not saying just like some random chick that you're dating that you see once a week or something like that. Like that's not what I mean. I mean saying this is your woman. You're in a committed relationship. You see each other regularly throughout the week. You've been at this for, you know, a number of months or a couple of years or something like that. She's your woman. If she's behaving in a certain way, it's all on you, bro. It's all on you. So if you really want to learn, if you really want to learn how to teach, how to guide, so you don't have things popping up, you don't have problems in your relationship, and you never will, get in touch with me. Get in touch, join the academy, shoot me an email, and you will have much better relationships. You know, but it just comes down to, are you ready? Are you prepared to have the responsibility on your shoulders for another person's behavior? You know, it's like if my kid screws up at school and he's, you know, for some sort of behavior and he's brought into the principal's office, they're going to call me. They say, hey, your kid, slapped some other kid in the face. You know, we don't promote violence at our school. They're going to call me about that and talk to me because I'm the one who's in charge. I'm the one who's responsible for the behavior of my child. Now, I'm not saying women are children, but when a woman is under your guidance, under your leadership, you are the one who's responsible. You cannot just assume that just because she's grown that she knows everything about you. She knows everything that she needs to do. No, you need to teach her, and you need to be on top of it. Yeah, you got to be on top of it. But you know, you guys want the fruits without the labor. That's what I find. A lot of times, like guys, even older dudes, like they don't get it. Like they want all the fruits, and they want the great things. They want the woman to be saying yes sir every day. They want the woman to be making food for them, in you know, wearing nothing but an apron. All right. They want their coffee to be served on her knees in the morning. They want back rubs and unsolicited blowjobs and, you know, all this great stuff, which is fine. You should want this. I applaud you. But without the responsibility of cultivating all of these things. And these guys think, well, I'm a man, so therefore I should. It's like, no. You have to prove yourself as a man by being able to lead. Being competent is something that separates men from males. You have to be competent. And one of the ways to show your competency is to lead. Because that's a way where you can show your ability to take your knowledge and transfer it to another person and have them do what you want them to do. This is an example of influence and leadership, to show your competency. And how do you regulate that? How do you maintain it? How do you grow it? Because like, okay, great, you've trained her to give you, say, like massage 3 days a week. Okay, now what? Where are you taking these things? How are you going to allow things to continue to grow? You're like, guys are too focused on the result. And I mentioned this before in a previous stream. You can be cognizant of the result, but your main focus should be on the process. Like 90% of your attention should be spent focusing on the process of things, the middle work, all right? Not initiating and not the result. It's the process. Now, the reason why there's 10% focused on the result is because you have to have an understanding and a reason and a vision for the process, right? So you have to know why you're doing the process in the first place. So that's why you need to have 10% of awareness on the result you're going for. But you can't just be sitting there dreaming about it. You have to know how to implement things to produce said result. You got to know, and then be able to take that knowledge, right? Because so many guys, they're full of themselves. They're like, yeah, I know how to do this. I know how to lead. It's not about telling someone how to do something. That's not it. There's larger portions about leading, influencing, and education. There's a reason why teaching has a separate degree. Like you can get a degree in how to take a body of information and produce scalable results where the results are compounding upon one another. This is a whole body of knowledge and education that you can full on get a degree in. So if that's the case, people are not understanding that learning and guidance, teaching, influence is a complex body of knowledge. There's learning models that you have to know. Well, you don't have to, but I suggest you learn about learning and teaching models so that you know how to get information into someone's head. It's not as simple as, well, she's attracted to me and I'm telling her what to do and therefore she should just do it. There's a difference between that, and that may produce a certain result, sure, okay? But there's a difference between that and making someone feel empowered, making someone feel great about learning and performing what they're doing, influencing their emotions as they're doing the thing that you're doing. Because there's one thing to have just someone who has complete obedience versus someone who has obedience with a smile on their face and they're growing and they feel great about themselves as they're going through the process. There's a huge difference between those two things. Like if you were a teacher in like a classroom, right? There's a difference between the kid who's just doing shit to get shit done because that's what you're telling them to do, and there's the kid who's excelling, and you can watch them growing, and they're watching themselves grow, and they're like, holy shit, I'm getting more knowledge, I'm performing better on tests, I know more, I'm feeling great about myself. And then they come to you saying, is there more that I can do? Or they're going off on their own outside of the classwork, and they're going to the library and researching about this, that, and the other because you've inspired them. There's a difference between those two students. And in order to produce the second type of student, you have to know how to teach. You have to get away from your ego that just wants the fruit and saying, well, I just want this woman on her knees and who's making food for me. Come on. If you're teaching right, that's just going to happen anyways. If you're influencing right, that's just going to happen anyways. I never think about food, my food being cooked for me. I never think about sex. The only time I'm ever thinking about sex is when I'm planning a scene. That's it. Because my wants for sexual intimacy are always given to me without asking, without setting anything up or what have you. I don't know what you guys do, but it's never on my mind because it's there. It's a given because I'm focused on the process of growth. See, when you're in this mental state, all of those other things that you normally would go after, they just come as happenstance. They come as a secondary result to the things that you're trying to produce. Which is a woman who's self-aware and growing, but through you, so that you become this conduit. You become a conduit for her own self-actualization. Now, I don't think you guys get it. Like, I don't think you guys get how, like, what you guys are missing out on. Like, how much you actually have at your fingertips, but don't know that it's there. And I don't blame you, right? Like, we can only know as much as we know. And I even come into my own roadblocks. I come into my own, stopping points, and I don't know what to do. And I have a mentor of my own, and I go to him because he's got 30 years doing what I'm doing. So, I go to him and he gives me insight because I don't know everything. I can't know past my own knowledge. So I don't blame you guys for not knowing that there's a whole other world there waiting for you that you can create, that you can influence. You just have to learn how to get it. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Opening your drawers and seeing all of your clothes clean, folded in the drawers, stuff hung up. This is great. Okay? It's great hearing, "Daddy, can I suck your dick, please?" It's great. Okay? But it's better seeing the growth. And then after, say, some weeks or whatever, you're working on a goal, you're working on a vision, and you pull her aside and show her evidence of previous behavior, previous mindsets, say like old text messages or things like that, voice notes, or you're just recalling certain choices and behaviors that she had, and then showing them to her and go, look where you are now. And then ask her, how does that make you feel? And guaranteed, she's going to not even realize she's not even going to realize that there's been a shift until you show her the stark difference between who she was and who she is now. Because it's the sort of thing, it reminds me of someone describing to me about how Buddhism affects you as a practitioner. And he said that Buddhism is like walking through the woods studying Buddhism is like walking through the woods that is very foggy. And he's like, at first your clothes are dry, but then you keep walking through the woods, and after 2 hours of walking through this foggy woods, you feel your clothes and they're now damp. And you didn't realize that your clothes were becoming saturated with moisture because there's just so little over time. But then you get to the end, you go, wow, holy shit, my shirt's soaked. Well, it's not soaked, but it's damp because of the fog. And this is how your influence can be. This is how your influence can be over time, where they don't notice the shifts. They don't notice the growth. They don't notice how their perspectives are shifting. Because it's not like people do daily assessments of like, oh, how do I feel? How do I see the world? How do I see myself? Like, people just typically don't do that until you pull them aside and have like a meta conversation and say, right, let's take a look. And this is part of leadership as well. Just like in the classroom, every couple of months, they'll do an assessment. They'll do quizzes. They'll do tests. All those things that's there to see how you're retaining things so that you can see for yourself. Are you learning? Are you growing? Are you retaining certain things? Do you still have bad habits? Or are you replacing bad habits with good habits? It'll show in the test results. I mean, unless you're one of those people who's just good with knowledge but terrible test takers. You know, there's those people as well. But you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, I'm not going to go on too much about this. Been at this almost 40 minutes, but women are not the problem. You are. You're the freaking problem. You're the problem for all of your problems, in fact. Or you're the source of all of your problems. Okay? Now, granted, there's some things out of your control. Like if you're just driving to work and somebody rear ends you and you're following all traffic, regulations, then sure. Okay? Yes, there are some things out of our control. Okay? But within the realm of your own influence, if you've got problems, they're because you're allowing them or encouraging them. Okay? So if there's a woman in your life who is behaving in a way that's not conducive to the future of that relationship, and I'm not talking about how it makes you feel, the future of the relationship, the growth, the sanctity of the relationship, then it's up to you to correct those measures, or correct those with correcting measures. This is what you have to do. And the key mindset, I'll leave you with this. The key mindset to being able to make corrections with a woman is to have no fear in losing her. That's it. That's the key. Without that little key, and it's very small but really, really effective. Reminds me of like in the first Men in Black with Will Smith. And he was given a gun, his first gun. He's like, give me a gun. And it gives him this little teeny gun. little did he know it was super freaking powerful. It was this tiny, tiny gun, but it knocked him on his ass from the recoil. So this lack of fear is like that gun. It's so small. It's just have no fear and lust. But if it's true and you hold this deeply, it is the most powerful and effective tool in your arsenal for everything dealing with a woman. Everything. Because this is what allows you to say no to her. This is what allows you to give her commands. This is what allows you to create teaching programs. This is what allows you to be dominant in the bedroom. This is what allows you to not take any bullshit from her. This is what allows you to correct her when necessary. This is what allows you to giving her rewards. This is what allows you to exact punishment on her when necessary. If you have fear of losing her, you will not be able to do any of those things. In fact, that fear is going to infiltrate every one of your thoughts, words, and actions, because it's going to prevent you from acting in a sincere and authentic way, because it's going to be colored by that fear. And you're going to have a jug of water, and you put a drop of blue food coloring in it, and that drop may not even be perceptible to the naked eye, depending on how much water you have. But if you analyze it, you took it to like a spectrometer or whatever they use to analyze that shit, you'll be able to find that indeed it's not 100% water. There's that little bit of dye detected in there. So it's not pure water anymore. And this is how your fear will affect everything. It's going to color everything you do. And if you're not aware of you having this fear, which most guys have, if you're not aware of this fear, then it's even worse, because what you think is true is not actually true. So that one key element of having no fear of loss, and it's not even like having a chip on your shoulder. I was with this one guy, you're doing like some email coaching, and he was like, fuck women. Like, fuck these women. I don't need them. And it's like, no, actually, by pushing, it's the same thing as pulling. Okay? So say like on a magnet, like you've got a bar magnet, one side has the negative pole, one has the positive pole. Is either one more powerful than the other? No, they're equal. Just one's positive and one's negative, but they have the equal amount of magnetism. So whether you're forcefully pushing women away and saying, I don't need you, or pulling them in and saying, I need you, they're both forms of weakness. They're both done from a similar place of insecurity, fear, attachment, and all that bullshit. And so I told him, you can't say, fuck these women, I'm going to focus on myself. Because it's the same thing as saying, I need women. Okay? And I told him, it's letting go. That's all it is. It's just gently letting go. And I told him that it's like breathing. Okay? And women are like the air. You don't suck air in when you're breathing, and you don't blow it out hard, right? You've been breathing this whole time and you didn't even notice. It's just this gentle thing that you do in, out, and there's no holding on to it because you're afraid that inhalation of air was your possibly last one. No, you don't. You just let it go. You exhale as if there's no more air left to breathe, because it's futile to try to hold on to it. But the air and breathing, this is how you should be dealing with women internally. You just inhale, women. You exhale, women. There's no holding, there's no grasping, there's no controlling. I mean, until they want to be controlled. Until they accept your invitation for control, and you better know what you're doing. So if you don't know what you're doing, don't attempt at offering some sort of control. If you have never had any of the training, do not fool yourself into thinking you know how to do it. Because you don't even know if it's the proper you. But just take that to heart. Dealing with women should be like breathing. There's just a gentle inhalation and exhalation. There's no holding. There's no forcing the air in. There's no forcing the air out. You just breathe and you let go. I don't know what the opposite of letting go for the inhalation, right? Because when you exhale, you're not blowing it out, you're just letting the air out. And but then it's the opposite. You're not forcing like the sucking of air in, but there's no word for that. Letting go and gently acquiring, I don't know. But that's how you should be dealing with women. That same mentality, the same relaxed mind, almost not even thinking about it. Just like you haven't been thinking about breathing for the past 45 minutes. I mean, until I brought it to your attention. Now you're aware that you're breathing. So this is how it should work. It's letting go. And you combine letting go of women with letting go of your fear. Just having that will make you a more powerful man than most males out there. Not that you should be thinking about them either, but just to have a little bit of insight, right? From my own perspective of dealing with a lot of guys, a lot of different guys, just having no fear and gently letting go of women will make you just like leagues more powerful. And you don't think so, because this one guy who was like, yeah, but those guys over there, they're complete losers and they have tons of girls. I feel responsible, I'm doing this stuff and I don't have any girls. And I'm like, well, first of all, why are you thinking about other men? Secondly, you don't know where they're at. You have no idea where they're at. They could be completely insecure and have just figured out how to get their own drug supply because they're feeling bad about themselves, and they learn that they feel good about themselves when they get women, when they get the attention, adoration, sex from women. So they've figured out a method to supply them with the drug that they're after. But from the outside, he's just looking at the outside behaviors and going, oh, he's just a dude who gets a lot of chicks. You have no clue what his real motivation is. Truly, the true powerful position to be in is to genuinely not want or need. You just are. If a woman wants to give to you, great. If she doesn't, great. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. Learn to be your own Buddha in that sense. Like, they don't matter. As long as you're living with a good sense of virtue and have an understanding of your own rules and codes and principles, then your life becomes so much easier when a woman sees you and wants to ride along, right? And you put in your offer. You put in your offer for just a sample. If she wants to take you up on that offer, then you give her more information. Kind of like when someone offers you a job and they're like, hey, you want to do this thing? And you're like, yeah, sure, let's check it out. And you go on to that first interview, then they give you more details of what to expect. And at that point, you could be like, you know what? It's not for me. And they're like, all right, cool. Or you're like, you know what? I like that offer. That's great. When do we start? But either way, the employer doesn't give a shit. If you're on, cool. We're happy to have you. If you're not, that's cool too. Enjoy your life. But they're not going to be in tears because you didn't want to take their offer. And there's just bigger things to worry about. They have to just keep moving. They have to keep developing the things that they're working on. So it's the same with you. It's the same with you. Yeah. So I hope this stream was helpful for you guys. Understands that women are not a problem. They never have been the problem. They never will be the problem. You are the problem. If you're having problems, you create or allow your own problems. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. And, I want you guys to have a really good Tuesday afternoon or evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. I appreciate you guys who have come through on the live. And as always, I appreciate you guys coming through during the replay. And if you have any questions, you can email me at justin@thedominanceacademy.com. Or if you want to check out my wares, my programs, ebooks, go to thedominanceacademy.com. And you're more than welcome to schedule a free consultation with me. It goes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. and we can talk about anything you like. You can find that link in the bio of my IG. It's for Calendly, and my IG is thedominance.academy. And again, just as a reminder, we're going to be streaming with a couple that does, they actually have their own podcasts on YouTube called the Disciplined Life. So check them out, The Disciplined Life. It's Coda and Aria. And those are, pseudonyms. They don't reveal their real names, nor do they use cameras. So I'm going to be interviewing them and their relationship tonight. And I believe that's at 9 p.m. Eastern. Let me just double check here and make sure that's correct. No, that's not what I want to do. Oh shit, I guess the story is done. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's 9 p.m. Eastern. Just double checking here. Yes. All right. And yeah, I'll put out a notice about that later on this evening. So until then, you guys have a fantastic afternoon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.